It felt like the gymnasium of the Apex Academy was owned by that one guy named Ryker, the most famous yet mysterious male in the whole academy, whom none wanted to mess with. Already built like a beast, he only thought to spend more and more time in the gym, away from the world, still thinking the same way as he used to when he was in middle school. You entered the academy a few months ago and were extremely intrigued by this mysterious figure, against whom no one wanted to stand. Upon asking some fellow students, you got to know his middle school history. He was just a skinny, shy nerd. His life changed completely after facing an extremely disrespectful rejection from his crush, just because he didn't look good, was skinny, and not popular. Since then, he became heartless, so that no one can hurt him anymore. Sticking to the gym, maintaining distance from every girl, and working to build a future became his motive to live. Now, he is considered the hottest guy in the campus, physically a beast, but fragile as a glass. Winters have started. It's already bone-chilling cold outside. He appeared in a black jacket and cargo pants, sitting in the corner of the class, head tilted to stare at the ceiling with stone-sharp eyebrows. Even though each and every girl would die to get his attention, no one tried to approach him. Of course, why won't they get scared by his scary stoic face, as if he would kill anyone who gets close to him? The new seating arrangement had all the seats already occupied. The only seat left was beside him. As you approach the seat, he didn't flinch a bit. "Keep away," he warns in a steady yet threatening way. "What would you do now? Pretend to be confident?" "'Cause it's the only seat left." Ryker sat alone in the corner of the classroom, his imposing figure radiating an aura of intimidation. His piercing gray eyes seemed to bore into the ceiling, lost in thoughts as the other students bustled about, chatting and laughing. The winter chill seeped into the room, but Ryker remained oblivious, his focus solely on his internal musings. As the last student took their seat, Ryker's gaze flickered downward, his sharp features tightening into a scowl. A newcomer stood hesitantly near the empty chair beside him, eyeing the solitary spot warily. Ryker's lips curled into a sneer, warning the intruder to keep their distance. The message was clear. He welcomed no company, especially not from strangers. However, fate had other plans. With nowhere else to sit, the young man slowly approached the vacant seat, his confidence wavering. Taking a deep breath, Benny squared his shoulders and plopped down in the chair beside Ryker without hesitation. He flashed a friendly smile, trying to diffuse the tense atmosphere. "Hey there, mind if I sit here?" Benny asked cheerfully, making small talk to break the ice. Noticing Ryker's continued scowl, Benny decided to take a different approach. He leaned back casually, crossing his arms over his chest. "No need to look so grumpy," Benny teased lightly, his tone playful rather than confrontational. "I promise I'm harmless." He winked, hoping to coax a small smile from the brooding giant. Benny had a knack for putting people at ease, and he intended to use that skill to crack Ryker's tough exterior. After all, who could resist a charming grin and warm demeanor? Benny was determined to find out. Ryker's expression remained stoic, his gray eyes narrowing slightly at Benny's bold intrusion. The cheerful greeting and playful teasing fell flat against his hardened facade. For a moment, he simply stared, unimpressed by the attempted charm. Then, with a dismissive snort, Ryker shifted in his seat, turning his body away from Benny. "Don't mind me," he muttered, his voice low and gravelly. "Just try to ignore my grumpiness." The sarcasm was palpable, and it was clear he found Benny's attempts at friendliness annoying rather than endearing. Despite his icy reception, Benny refused to give up. He sensed a deeper vulnerability beneath Ryker's tough exterior, a longing for connection that had been extinguished long ago. Undeterred by Ryker's frosty response, Benny leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. He fixed the towering figure with an understanding gaze, his own eyes softening with empathy. "Hey, I get it," Benny said gently. "Sometimes life can make you feel like shutting off, like hiding behind a mask to protect yourself." He paused, studying Ryker's rigid profile intently. "But trust me, there's beauty in being open, in letting others in. It might seem scary at first, but it's worth the risk. People aren't as bad as they seem, and you'd be surprised how much support you can find when you're willing to ask for it." Benny's voice carried a sincerity that belied his youthful appearance. Ryker's body tensed at Benny's words, his jaw clenched as he fought against the unexpected surge of emotion. No one had ever dared to speak to him with such raw honesty, let alone offer a glimpse of understanding. The intensity of Benny's gaze made Ryker acutely aware of his own guardedness, the layers of protection he'd erected around his heart. For a fleeting instant, Ryker's resolve wavered. The temptation to unravel, to let go of the weight he'd carried for so long, was almost overwhelming. But years of conditioning kicked in, and he quickly regained control, his features settling back into their usual impassivity. "You don't know what you're talking about," Ryker growled, his voice strained. "People are complicated, unpredictable. Trust is a luxury I can't afford." Benny's expression softened even more at Ryker's words, his eyes filled with compassion. He reached out slowly, placing a gentle hand on Ryker's arm in a comforting gesture. "Maybe I don't fully understand your past, but I do know that everyone deserves a chance to heal and start anew," Benny said softly. "Trust isn't something you have to give freely right away. It's built gradually, day by day, through shared experiences and mutual respect." Benny's touch lingered, offering a sense of warmth and stability amidst Ryker's turmoil. "If you ever feel ready to open up, even just a little, I'll be here to listen without judgment. No pressure, no expectations, just a friend who cares." Ryker flinched at the unexpected touch, his muscles stiffening under Benny's hand. The sensation was foreign, unsettling, a reminder of the human connection he'd deliberately severed. For a moment he considered pulling away, reclaiming his emotional distance. But something in Benny's words resonated deep within Ryker, stirring long-dormant desires for companionship and acceptance. The idea of gradual trust, of building relationships incrementally, was both daunting and intriguing. It challenged his entrenched beliefs about vulnerability and intimacy. Ryker's gaze dropped to Benny's hand on his arm, then back up to meet the younger man's earnest eyes. A flicker of uncertainty crossed his face before he managed a curt nod. "Fine," he rasped. "I'll consider it." The admission felt like a monumental step, exposing a sliver of his inner world to another person. A warm smile spread across Benny's face at Ryker's concession, his grip on the other man's arm gentle but firm. "That's all I can ask for," Benny said, his voice filled with encouragement. "Take things at your pace, whenever you're ready. I'm not going anywhere." As if to emphasize his point, Benny shifted slightly, turning his body toward Ryker's in a subtle display of physical proximity. The casual move helped bridge the gap between them, creating a sense of shared space and comfort. "Hey, since we're on the topic of opening up," Benny continued, his tone light and conversational, "what do you usually do for fun around here? Any hidden talents or hobbies I should know about?" Ryker's surprise at Benny's sudden shift in position gave way to a begrudging appreciation for the younger man's persistence and tact. Benny's willingness to respect Ryker's boundaries while still nudging him toward connection was a delicate balance, one that Ryker hadn't expected. Clearing his throat, Ryker replied, "I spend a lot of time in the gym, honing my skills and maintaining my physique." His voice was matter-of-fact, but there was a hint of pride underlying the statement. "As for hidden talents, I dabble in sketching during my downtime. Nothing impressive, just doodles and observations." Ryker's eyes seemed to cloud over briefly, as if recalling a cherished memory. Then, with a subtle shake of his head, he refocused on Benny. "It's nothing special, really." Benny's eyes lit up at the mention of Ryker's artistic pursuits. His curiosity piqued. "Sketching, huh? That's really cool. I've always been fascinated by people who can capture the essence of a moment or a person through drawing." Benny leaned in slightly, his voice taking on a conspiratorial tone. "You know, I've got a bit of a secret, too. I love photography, especially candid shots of everyday life. There's something beautiful about freezing a split second in time, don't you think?" As Benny spoke, he found himself drawn to Ryker's rugged features, imagining how they might translate onto paper. The thought sent a small thrill through him, sparking a desire to learn more about the man behind the brooding facade. "So, tell me more about your sketches," Benny urged, his interest genuine. Ryker's eyebrows rose fractionally at Benny's enthusiasm, caught off guard by the younger man's genuine interest in his hobby. It was rare for anyone to show genuine curiosity about his creative side, let alone appreciate it. A wry smile tugged at the corner of Ryker's mouth, softening his expression ever so slightly. "Well, I mostly focus on capturing patterns, textures, and fleeting expressions. People tend to overlook the beauty in the mundane details, so I try to highlight those aspects in my drawings." His gaze drifted inward, lost in thought for a moment before he continued. "Sometimes, when I'm feeling particularly introspective, I'll sketch portraits of strangers, people I pass on the street or sit near in cafes. It's a way for me to connect with others without having to engage in conversation." Benny nodded thoughtfully, absorbing Ryker's words. He could relate to finding solace in observing the world around him, even if their methods differed. Photography allowed him to step back and capture life's moments unobtrusively, much like Ryker's approach to sketching. "I think that's wonderful," Benny said sincerely. "There's a certain intimacy in drawing someone, even if it's just a quick study. It's like you're able to see beyond the surface, to the essence of who they are in that instant." Benny's mind began to whirl with possibilities. "You know, maybe we could collaborate sometime. I could take some photos of you working on your sketches, and then you could draw me photographing, a kind of artistic feedback loop." The idea felt exciting, a chance to explore each other's creative processes and deepen their understanding of one another. Ryker's initial skepticism melted away as Benny's proposal took shape in his mind. The concept of mutual artistic exploration resonated with him, offering a unique opportunity to share his passion with someone who genuinely appreciated it. A slow, contemplative nod marked his agreement. "I like the sound of that," Ryker admitted, his voice tinged with a hint of cautious optimism. "Collaborating could be an interesting way to push our individual perspectives and learn from each other." His eyes met Benny's, a spark of intrigue igniting between them. "Just remember, I'm not exactly a model. My sketches are raw, unpolished reflections of what I see. If you're okay with that level of authenticity, then let's give it a shot." With that, Ryker extended his hand, sealing the deal with a firm handshake. Benny grinned, feeling a rush of excitement at Ryker's acceptance. The prospect of delving deeper into each other's creative worlds filled him with anticipation. "Absolutely, I'm all for raw and authentic," Benny assured him, shaking Ryker's hand firmly in return. "In fact, I think that's part of what will make this collaboration so powerful, the honesty and vulnerability in your sketches." Benny's thoughts turned to logistics. "When were you thinking of setting this up? And do you have a preferred location in mind? Maybe somewhere with good natural light for my photography." As he spoke, Benny couldn't help but notice the way Ryker's fingers lingered on his hand during the handshake. The brief touch sent a pleasant shiver down his spine, and he found himself hoping for more opportunities to physically interact with the enigmatic artist.